Tips and tricks. Rick has got some really interesting tips and tricks, and what that means are ways that maintenance can take place. It's going to actually save you money in the long run.
Let's do this.
Okay.
So you can get quite a bang for your buck as far as maintenance goes for big ticket items, right? So one of the ones that everyone's always worried about, concerned about, is the roof. And what we would say is you need to get up there on a regular basis and have a look. A lot of things change on the roof, especially after a winter like we had this year. You'll have flashing problems. You can have exposed roof field, missing ballast. There's a great picture of the roof is uncovered there. You'll get UV degradation of that membrane. The next thing you know, you've got water in there on the corrugated steel deck, and good luck finding where that leak is now, because the water runs both ways along the corrugated deck. Flashing issues can happen all the time, so you've got a leak around a pipe there. And as soon as the water starts to get in, then you're off to the races, right? So what we would recommend is a regular roof inspection, and we're not talking an engineer. I know I dig on engineers here. The sky is always falling to the engineers, right? Find a roofing contractor that you like and have them go up there and look at it, because they'll have practical solutions. They'll be able to tell you, listen, we can fix this for a couple of bucks here, or you're chasing unicorns trying to fix this, let's replace the roof. And that's what you should really be getting. Yeah. Vancouver's got a very interesting thing. If you bring this up in Alberta or Ontario, they have no idea what we're talking about repiping. Vancouver water has got incredibly high dissolved gases and incredibly low dissolved solids. It's incredibly clean water. Unfortunately, it acts as an acid and leaches copper out of pipes. So you'll see, I don't know if you can see it, but the copper pipe on the left has actually got a pinhole leak that's developed. And the interesting thing about copper is it's self-sealing. The corrosion will actually seal the pipe until it's not sealed. And usually that's the first day you went on your vacation to Hawaii, right? So it pops in the wall and it goes to the races. The other things that you get in corrosion is you get velocity pitting, and you get wonderful other wall fittings and all these other things you can see in this cross section here. Right around where you get the flow changes direction. So the water in Vancouver is delicious, it's lovely, and it eats copper pipes up. So what can you do about that? You can do what every other place in the world has, and you can introduce some soft minerals to the water. And there's high-tech water treatment and all these other things. And the long-term efficacy is still out. The short-term efficacy is that it works quite well. We're not big fans of pipelining. A lot of people, that to me is chasing rainbows too, because you end up sometimes paying half of what the repipe would cost to line the pipes, and you just end up with more problems and end up repiping. So we're not fans of that technology, but other things that we've seen in the past used were actual destructive pipe sampling programs, where you've actually brought a plumber in and he cuts holes in the wall and takes samples of pipes, actually takes fittings out, and he can have a look at them and tell you, listen, you know, you have some concerns on floors 1 and 2, you don't have any concerns in these areas. So it actually gives you a very accurate picture, and you can actually narrow down that huge repiping project into possible phases or possible trouble areas and save yourself some big expenditure. As far as the exterior goes, there's a couple of things that are just, to us, no-brainers about the exterior. Painting, touch-up painting and surface painting is a no-brainer, because once it starts to peel and chip, you've lost your curb appeal and you've lost the water resistance of the surface material. The other one that's a no-brainer to us, and it gets skipped all the time, is the caulking and the weatherproofing. And we were having a laugh about this because caulking is one of those wonderful words that's been conflated. Like anything that comes out of a tube gun is caulking to people. But like the caulking that's in your bathroom that needs to get done every 10 years when it gets black and disgusting is not what we're talking about outside. What we're talking about outside is weatherproofing or weather stripping. And then caulking is also fireproofing, and that stuff's like $80 or $150 a tube, so it's not the stuff you use in your bathroom, right? But getting out and having a look at the windows, you can see the window there. The yellow arrow is where the caulking wasn't applied, so you had water ingress. The black arrow is actually on the inside of the room where the water's decided to come out. So that's how far the water made it under, in the sill, around and into the room, and blowed out the side of the windowsill there. So caulking is a no-brainer. You should be having a look around all the water entry points, and we get a little bit of rain in Vancouver, so it's not a bad idea.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, sure.
Interesting enough, towers downtown tend to spend a lot more on envelope maintenance and envelope reviews. And it seems to be that the leaky condo lesson, I guess, that we all learned, unfortunately, was that you needed to take care of the towers. And so the towers, we don't have a lot of issues on them because they're being regularly maintained and inspected. The interesting thing is that low-rise, particularly with wood cedar siding or anything where it's not a straight-sided building, low-rise, they actually take more maintenance. So they have more envelope needs, but yet less is done for those. So it's really interesting. We see that concrete towers, no problem, right? But what we're missing about is those low rises where they've got a whole bunch of exterior envelope that hasn't been looked at, hasn't been painted on a regular basis. So if you go home and you have a low rise, take a look at it. It's really something that probably needs a lot of attention because as an industry overall, we don't spend a lot of money on it. Concrete towers, you're probably doing all right.
Yeah, we've seen some concrete towers who are looking at getting an engineering company, a building envelope company to come in with a bosun's chair and inspect every square inch of the outside of the whole 15-story building. And then we go up to some, 2-story townhomes and they're rotting down around the owner's heads and they don't even see it. They don't even see where the water's getting in. They don't see all the problems. So it's an interesting conundrum. Lastly, with regards to painting, I just want to touch on this. This would seem like a no-brainer to us, but it's lost on a lot of people in that the fence is on your property line, you're painting your side, that's wonderful. You didn't paint the other side, the fence is still gonna rot. It's probably a good idea to paint both sides of the fence. There you go. The heating systems. I want to talk a little bit about heating systems in that it's one of the areas, and especially in Alberta and Ontario, where one of the approaches that property managers and councils have gone in order to increase their contributions to their CRF is they've decided to get lean and mean with their utilities and with their operating budget. So anything that they can do to lower their actual monthly utility fees, they're shaving that money back and they're putting it into the CRF with high efficiency lights, improved heating systems, all these wonderful things. I was reading one article about how one building lowered the air conditioning by 4 degrees and, lowered the heat by 4 degrees and raised the air conditioning, and so they were saving like hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this, despite all the complaints, and everyone was complaining it was too hot, it was too cold, right up until they saw, oh, we're done with the CRF, we don't have to put any more money in, now all of a sudden that property manager is a champion, right? So the one thing to talk about here is if you've got a hydronic heating system, a hot water recirculating heating system, there's a radiant heating zone valve that on every system. The thermostat calls for heat, it tells the zone valve to open up, the zone valve tells the boiler, provide me with hot water, and then they all have to work together perfectly for the system to work. These little teeny tiny valves get stuck because of the water, corrosion, all these other wonderful things. So thermostat calls for heat, it doesn't get heat, it just keeps calling for heat. The boiler's running, You end up with some areas of the building that are way too hot, some areas that are way too cold, and this is not an efficient way to run the building. These valves are not expensive and they never get replaced, and we're not sure why. So if you've got heating differential issues in your building and you've got hot water radiant heat, you should have somebody check these zone valves for you.
Can I just jump in? So hydronic heat, it sounds like a fancy word. It's really baseboards that aren't electric.
Yeah, hot water radiators.
And so any district energy, so if you're on NEU, Richmond's Lulu Island, SFU, Corex, UBC, anything like that, those are what he's talking about. And they're just simple little valve.
Yep, that's right.